Chad Hasty here, host of the Chad Hasty Show, which airs weekday mornings, 8:30 to 11 a.m. Central Time on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. You can listen online at KFYO.com, and I encourage you to follow me on Twitter, Chad Hasty Radio. Lost in all the discussion about James Comey, the FBI, President Trump, and whether or not President Trump has audio recordings of James Comey. Lost in all of that has been another debate playing out in Washington, D.C., and this over mandatory minimums and drug sentencing. Senator Rand Paul coming out swinging against Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Rand Paul with a piece on CNN. Rand Paul saying that the Attorney General Sessions, that his sentencing plans would ruin lives. Here's part of what Rand Paul had to say. The Attorney General on this past Friday made an unfortunate announcement that will impact the lives of millions of Americans. He issued new instructions for prosecutors to charge suspects with the most serious provable offenses, quote, those that carry the most substantial guidelines sentence, including mandatory minimum sentences. Paul went on to write, mandatory minimum sentences have unfairly and disproportionately incarcerated a generation of minorities. Eric Holder, the Attorney General under President Obama, issued guidelines to U.S. attorneys that they should refrain from seeking long sentences for nonviolent drug offenders. Paul writes, I agreed with him then and still do. In fact, I'm the author of a bipartisan bill with Senator Leahy to change the law on this matter. Until we pass the bill, though, it is the discretion of enforcement. The lives of many young drug offenders lies with the current Attorney General. The Attorney General's new guidelines, a reversal of policy that was working, will accentuate the injustice in our criminal justice system. We should be treating our nation's drug epidemic for what it is, a public health crisis, not an excuse to send people to prison and turn a mistake into a tragedy. And make no mistake, Paul writes, the lives of many drug offenders are ruined the day they receive that long sentence the Attorney General wants them to have. This is something that is going to be interesting to watch play out. The Trump administration and the so-called war on drugs. The Trump administration and how different states are handling the issue of marijuana and other drugs. Is this going to be an administration that goes after those who, have just a little bit of marijuana on them? Is this going to be an administration that goes after states that allow for not only medical marijuana to be sold, but recreational marijuana? This is something where I agree with Senator Rand Paul on. If you're somebody who is using marijuana recreationally, I'm not encouraging people to do so, by the way, but if you're somebody who does that, I don't think that should mean you get locked up for 10 years. I don't think it needs to be where you get locked up for a year for that. There are other, I think, programs that can benefit you. Now, when we're talking about the big-time drug dealers, when we're talking about that kind of stuff, I think that's something completely different, and I think Senator Paul would agree with that. But this is something for everybody to keep a watch on. Remember, President Trump and the Republicans have talked about giving more power to the states on this, and I think many states and many voters have said, hey, if you want to have recreational marijuana, okay, let's go and vote on it. Let's see what happens. Hasn't happened here in Texas. I don't think it'll happen for a while, but medical marijuana is something that I could see spring up here in Texas, within the next few years or so. But either way, the Trump administration, they're going the opposite direction of public opinion. Public opinion is actually on the side of recreational marijuana. And the Trump administration is not on that side. At least Jeff Sessions isn't on that side. Remains to be seen what Trump himself, I guess, really thinks about the issue, if he cares at all. But Senator Rand Paul, I agree with him on this. I think that the whole push towards more enforcement, more mandatory minimums on this is probably a very dangerous way to go on it. We don't need to be locking people up forever just because they have a little bit of pot in their pockets. Tune in to the Chad Hasty Show weekday mornings, 8:30 to 11 a.m. Central Time. News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM KFYO. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Have a great day, and remember, follow me on Twitter, Chad Hasty Radio.